Miami Condo Mondays is a live podcast on the first workday of the week at 4 p.m. South Florida time. The program features former journalist and current Wall Street consultant Peter Zaleski of the Miami Condo Investing Club and former lender and veteran condo broker Jenny Huertas of CVRRealty.com. Recorded weekly in greater downtown Miami, this 1-hour discussion will provide a refreshing and sometimes controversial perspective on the state of the South Florida condo market from a pair of seasoned real estate professionals who do not always agree. The program won't tell you what to think about the South Florida condo market, but will give you something to think about before buying, selling, taking listings, or financing units. This podcast is not authorized by the Miami real estate industry and will quite possibly annoy many of its figureheads. Welcome to this week's episode of Miami Condo Mondays, broadcast live on the social media accounts of Peter Zaleski and Jenny Huertas.
Happy Monday, Miami. This is Miami Condo Mondays, a 1-hour conversation between myself, Peter Zaleski, I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, and the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, and my co-host and my partner, Jenny Huertas, broker owner of CVR Realty. Check out our website, CVRRealty.com. For the next hour, we are going to be talking straight up about the condo market. What are we focusing on this week? We're focusing on South Beach. South Beach, South Beach, South Beach. We all know it. You got Ocean Drive, you got Art Deco, you got the Stand, you got all the celebrities. Everybody's coming to town. Nobody's buying condos, though. Why? 15 months of supply. What's one of the reasons they're not buying them? You're looking at a cap rate under 1%. Inflation's running at 2.7%. So if you buy a condo, chances are you're actually losing money based on the inflation rate. But a variety of things could be happening. A variety of things could be changing. And that's what Jenny and I are going to be discussing this week. So next hour, we're going to be talking all about South Beach condos. We're giving you the straight talk, no Chamber of Commerce talk on this podcast every Monday at 4 o'clock, Miami Condo Mondays. Although today, Jenny, we were on Miami time. We're near the peak of the season, Jenny, so we kind of blew right past that 4 o'clock deadline. However, we were within the half an hour exemption period you have in Miami. Typically in Miami, if you're a half an hour late, you don't even tell anybody. But we went out and we told people we were running late, Jenny. So I got to apologize. It's my fault. We're running late. And what do you make of all that, Jenny?
I don't know, about 30 minutes. For me, it's 15 minutes and it's over.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that's
boy, you're really grinding, putting the screws in on people. 15 minutes. Wow. Interesting. Jenny, how's it going? Are you ready to talk South Beach condos?
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite places. I used to live there, so South Beach has a special place in my heart.
Nice. So Jenny, we put out the newsletter this week. It's supposed to go out on Sunday, but because we're getting near the peak of the winter buying season, which goes from November through April, I was just overwhelmed. We did a tour, Jenny, on Saturday. We had a sellout. All the tickets were sold. We walked all around the Central Business District of Greater Downtown Miami. And we gave people information. We told them stories. We analyzed it. You were able to share some of your insights because you're in the trenches. You're working the units. You're working the agents on the sell side. You work both sides, but primarily in a market like this, you're on the buy side. So you're able to provide that color. I was giving them the macro. I was giving them the sarcastic perspective. I was telling them the stories about the developers. Which ones went to jail? Which ones are out? Whose kids taking over? Which projects going sideways? Where the opportunities are? What would you say, Jenny, about that tour of the Central Business District? Were you shocked at how much new product is coming online there?
Yes, even though I see it all the time, that was amazing. There are places that actually I would not walk on my own. So that was definitely interesting because when you see in the brochures, it's in 11th Street next to the water, it's not. So it's just the way when you walk it, and I was, having the chance to talk to the people that was participating in the tour, and they say, yes, it's definitely the best way to see it. It's impossible by driving. It's not the same. So that was insightful. People love the history, and you have a huge memory, and you're very eloquent. So that was a fantastic experience, and everybody is fan of your tours.
Well, good. Well, if you are a fan of our tours, Jenny, this Saturday, 10 to 1 o'clock, we're doing a walking tour of South Beach. We're starting over on Lincoln Road in Washington, right outside of the Bank of America, as well as the McDonald's. We're going to start at 10 o'clock. We're going to jump on a trolley. We'll go all the way down to South Point Drive. right over there by Jones Stone Crab, right over there by the Portofino, the Apogee, the Continuum. And we're going to wander up. We're going to give everybody a list of all the condo projects that exist in the South Beach area. Jenny, you know, the way we define it, we like to rely on physical boundaries. We don't go off of just like, you know, arbitrary lines. So for South Beach, for us, is going to go from government cut. That's that part that the feds cut through over 120 years ago or so. And they created Fisher Island on one side. Then you have government cut. That's where all the cruise ships go through. That's where all of the cargo ships come through that are going to and from the Port Miami. So we're going to go from government cut. We're going to go all the way up to 41st Street, depending on how quickly we're walking. And, you know, we'll have some stops along the way. People can use the restroom. They can get something to drink. And then we're going to end up back on Lincoln Road. So we're doing that this Saturday, Jenny. It's going to be a fun tour. Probably take about 3 hours or so. You know, all kinds of stories, all kinds of history. Jenny, you're going to be able to share about a lot of the insights you have from South Beach, because you lived in South Beach quite some time, and you lived there before Lincoln Road was even a thing. It was this old rundown place where you had older people selling tchotchkes in the windows, knockoff T-shirts, and to see it today with an Apple store and some of these big time retailers, it's really impressive to see the metamorphosis. So can you discuss a little bit about South Beach and maybe Lincoln Road?
Yes, actually, I learned how to rollerblade in Lincoln Road, which is unheard of, because it was a pops and moms shops. I thought it was I loved it the way it was. Once I saw the first Starbucks or Gap or, you know, on this store, they say, this is it. It's like Victoria's Secret is there. It's no longer what I enjoyed. It's a different place. Of course, it's beautiful. Of course, it has a lot of attractions, but it was just so different. And it was so, the people didn't go there. People would hang out in Ocean Drive, or if they want to go clubbing, they would go to Washington Avenue, where all the club scene was before 11, before Wynwood and all that. So we're talking about probably 25 years ago. I was like 10.
Yeah, but Jenny, I got to tell you, though, you're the problem. People like you are the problem for South Beach. You want to know why? Because South Beach was the scene. Greater downtown Miami, nothing. It's over about a 4.5, 5 mile causeway when you get from the barrier island where Miami Beach is. And think about Miami Beach. It's a barrier island, much of it man-made, especially on the west side. So you got the Atlantic, then you got the barrier island, then you got the bay, then you got the mainland. So, Jenny, there was nothing in Greater Downtown Miami for quite some time. And then we got the boom of '02 to the great South Florida condo boom of '02 to 2011. It took the supply from about 11,500 units between 1963 and 2001 to 11,500 condo units there. Then, in that great boom of '02 to 11, they added an additional 22,000. And you know we're coming at today, Jenny? Let's see if you remember from the tour. How many condos right now are in the pipeline or delivered in Greater Downtown Miami? Julia Tunnel, south of Rickenbacker, Biscayne Bay, west Interstate 95. Let's check your memory. What is the number?
Almost 60,000.
Woo-hoo! You got it right. 60,000 condos in Greater Downtown Miami. Up until 2001, 11,500. Once we hit 2012, after the great boom and bust of '02 to 11, we were up to 33,000. Jenny, now we're pushing 60 since 2012. That's a ton of condos.
Yes, a lot. But that's why, you know, go ahead, because I know you want to say something on South Beach, and that's probably why the problem is for South Beach now that we have so many condos.
People like you,
Miami.
People like you were adding to South Beach. You were contributing to the community, the vibe, the flair, and all of a sudden, everybody bailed on South Beach, and they all went over to downtown Miami, the mainland. Can you kind of address it? What was it like back then versus what is it like right now? And then I'm going to ask you, where is it going? But you know how we do this. You're not going to tell us where it's going until near the end, because we want everybody to hang out for this podcast, because it is going to be an interesting conversation. And Jenny, we're going to actually show the numbers. We're going to give people the numbers. We're going to share all of that with them. So if you guys have tuned in and you stuck around, and despite me running late, it's going to be well worth paying attention for, say, the next hour or so.
Yes.
So Jenny, where was it and where is it today? But don't talk about where it's going, please.
South Beach, you mean? In
Yes.
my opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, South Beach was 25 years ago was a tourist destination. It was just tourists. Were some of us that actually have a normal life there, and a lot of people that had retired there because it was cheaper to retire there. There were some of the pockets of retirement places, like in South of Fifth. South of Fifth was not like that. Actually, we never went to South of Fifth because it was kind of interesting neighborhood back then. Then it was developed with the years and became really fancy. It's now called Sophie. Yeah, it's just the name. It sounds better. And then Art Deco was where people like me, like where young professionals live, because it wasn't expensive at all. It was not. I mean, like you could live in the city and live in South Beach for the same price. And if you're renting and you are like a person that likes the beach like me, why not to live in Miami Beach? Also, the traffic was much better. So we were always against traffic when you were living there and working in the city. Nowadays, it's no longer the case. Now it's both ways. It's traffic always. So I feel like the people that live on the beach now, they really have a hard time trying to making plans to come here and vice versa. So it's going to South Beach, parking, and then they're coming here, traffic. So it's like people find their niche, their friends, their outings. Not that they don't go, not that we won't go there, but it's just different. I think the residents tend to stay in the place where they are just because moving around is more difficult than it was then.
Well,
Now,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say it's a very interesting point. Anybody looking at the map and they're seeing South Florida, they're going to see Miami-Dade, they're going to see Broward, they're going to see Palm Beach County, which together make up the Tri-County region of South Florida. And there's kind of a psychological boundary that exists down here where if you're in Miami-Dade, you're probably not going to Broward unless you're a lunatic like me and you like cricket. And during the summer, the West Indies team always plays matches up there. Otherwise, people aren't going to Broward. They're just not doing it. They got the Bright Line. The Bright Line was supposed to be able to provide that opportunity to be able to bounce from Miami to Aventura to Fort Lauderdale to Boca Raton to West Palm Beach. Problem is the damn thing is too expensive. And now, apparently, according to bond rating agencies, they might be defaulting, according to press reports, as of a year from now, January 2027, in terms of meeting their debt obligation. The prices are high, so you can't really do it. If you're driving it, you're stuck in traffic. Anybody commuting from Broward into Miami, they know what a difficulty is. So we've always had the county by county restrictions, but now what we got the causeway restrictions. When you're coming from the mainland going over the causeway into Miami Beach, it can be a little bit problematic in terms of traffic wise. We have all these people here. We have all of the things going on. It's not like it used to be where you went partying in South Beach and then you saw a movie in the Grove, Coconut Grove. And then, you worked on Brickell and then you went shopping in Aventura. All of that's changed, Jenny. Now many of these places are sort of self-contained. And it's almost like South Beach has lost its luster because of the shiny object, which is greater downtown Miami. Where remember, 11,500 condos up till 2001. Now we're approaching 60,000. And Miami is a fad town. Whatever is hot, like the Miami Dolphins or the Miami Hurricanes football team, and when they're hot, everybody's there. When they suck, everybody ignores them and they do something else. So, Jenny, you want to talk about how that sort of evolved from us being hemmed in by county lines, and now we're hemmed in by causeway lines, if you will?
Yes, it is. It is a real fact. Actually, I have good news. The water taxi now is free and it's already started from January 21st. So you can travel to the beach in a free taxi, water taxi. It goes from the Venetian Marina to the Maurice Gibbs Park. It's a great addition. I think this is good for us to go back and forth. People that wants to just to go on the boat ride, for that matter. So no, I think both places have the attraction. A lot of people that they like South Beach so much, they have zero interest about living on the urban life in downtown Miami. It's just like two different kind of people.
Well, and that's I was going to say
Yeah.
that's a great segue. So because in greater downtown Miami, you tend to have higher density, bigger buildings, smaller units. And Miami Beach is sort of like, hey, I worked hard, I deserve it. Let me get this place that's inefficient from an investor perspective, but it's going to offer everything I want. So I can go there. I spend 6 months a year. Maybe I go down once a month. I spend it on the weekends. Maybe I want to go out walking on the beach every morning. So think cottage, think posterity, think luxury in terms of square footage on the Barrier Island. Then when you get into downtown Miami, primarily it's high density, 700 square foot, 1 bedrooms, 1,000 square foot, 2 bedrooms. So there's a real big distinction. Although Jenny, in Greater Downtown Miami, they were really pushing these larger units, which were traditionally found on the beach.
Yes.
Now you got them in Greater Downtown Miami. Just so it's like every single step, every advantage Miami Beach had. These developers are stripping it away and poaching.
Yes, but you also have in Miami Beach, you also have a different market. That's true. There's like beautiful posh places, oceanfront that are bigger and more luxurious than ever and super expensive. That there is also a part of South Beach that is the Art Deco district where you find small buildings, 20 units, 25 units, garden views, no pools, no parking, and that's where the value is. We're gonna get there, but this is where the value is for investors, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jenny, the stats that we're going to show shortly, they're really reflecting that a lot of people are trying to get out of South Beach. They are trying to unload, but their prices, they haven't cut them yet. But you know what we always say, once we get to that symbolic peak of the winter buying season, which is the Miami Beach International Boat Show, as well as the Coconut Grove Arts Festival, which happens President's Weekend, that holiday, which is like February the 16th or so, typically after that point, Jenny, sellers start to realize, I haven't found any buyers yet. Thereby, if I do want to get out of this property, I'm going to need to probably cut my price or adjust my listing. Why?
Mhm.
Because by the time the thing closes, it's probably going to be sometime in the summer buying season, which goes in our books from May through October. So really the window for sellers is starting to close. So you're probably going to see some pivoting. You're going to see some sellers who need to get out because of the rising cost of maintenance fees, because of the hefty special assessments, because of the insurance. People can't afford it. And the cost of condo living has gone up. And as a result, some people need to get out. They can't be as confident anymore. They can't say that their kid is on the honor roll. They can't say their kid is the best at soccer. They can't say that their significant other is fantastic. They can't say that they have the best job. All of a sudden, reality is starting to hit. And that reality is right around the corner, Jenny, as we sit here on the brink of going into February.
Absolutely. And the fact that the condo reserves are no longer postponed.
You can't defer them anymore. Now you got to collect the money. The money's got to be there for whatever's identified during these inspections. Yeah, you can't say, well, I don't think so. Now you're required to put up the cash.
Exactly. Now I can see more of the sellers or owners getting a little nervous about what the future of the market might be. So there are pockets there. Of course, there are units there that are super expensive on the multi-million dollars, places that they don't care about what is happening in the overall market because those are jewels. I know that we always talk about condos being a commodity, but sometimes these people customize their condos in such a way that you call it a special decoration by somebody famous or art or who knows what, that for them has a lot of value and others might see it as a piece of art, some of those units. So that's a little bit of the eclectic type of market that South Beach is. And even in our side, on the city side, we always thought that we were like, tight units. Yes, we have that, and it's the majority. But we also have a lot of different, units that represent some sort of value that is beyond our stats.
That's true, beyond our stats. And Jenny, what I just did is pull up a map. I want people to be able to get a sense of what we're talking about. And I want to talk a little bit about the history of the area, and then we'll pivot over and we'll start talking numbers. But just give everybody a sense. So this is going to be your MacArthur Causeway. This is the road that takes you from the airport all the way to what they call south of 5th, which is going to be coming in over here. This is the neighborhood south of 5th that has become the most exclusive area. I would argue this is ultimately where luxury condo pricing starts and basically starts. Anything from here as you go north and you go west, pricing's going to be going down. This is the gold standard. This is going to be the top notch in terms of pricing, especially for the luxury units. That'll be south of 5th. Then at 5th Street, you get into effectively what will be the, they used to call it the circus. I'm sure they probably still do. So you can see 5th Street here. So the pretty people and the party people lived here, and the wealthy people, they lived down here. Now, the wealthy people, they wanted to be close to the pretty people. but they don't want to live with them. They want to be able to get access, but they don't want to live with them. So this area is really blown up into like the